welcome to another up close video. Today's one is for Tonic Showcase number 13 and this one I think is going to be called the Coffee Collection because it is all coffee themed, but it's also got tea themed and hot chocolate themed elements in here as well. So it's a nice versatile set for anybody who loves hot drinks, or you could you have a sugar cube in here which you could turn into an ice cube and make it for like an iced latte or even just like a lemonade or something as well. So I think it's a really nice versatile drinks kind of collection. I wanted to also mention that it must be a couple of years ago now, but Tonic brought out a set of 6 shakers, these ones, for a coffee kind of collection, coffee tea kind of collection. So you might have already had these, or you might be able to get hold of them somewhere still. I'm not sure if Tonic still have them on their website, but you might be able to get hold of them somewhere. But they are just a die that has the actual like mug shape, and then it has the interior piece with the blister, and I think these would coordinate really nicely with this. So if you already have these, this one's going to be a nice set to go with it because it has like the gorgeous swirly steam to come out the top of it, and like extra elements like marshmallows and ice cubes and cream and all sorts of stuff, coffee beans, spoon, that I think would go really nicely with these to make nicer, more like more of a scene on a card, I suppose, with these. I think this will work really nicely. So these old sets had a coffee mug, they had a coffee cup, which is like a takeaway one, which you also have the option to do in here as well. They also had a latte glass, a large mug, a teapot, which it's a bit of a small teapot to go with that teacup, but you could use it with like a different perspective, the teapot's in the background and stuff. And then they also had a teacup in here as well, which is a different style of teacup. It's like a shorter, squatter kind of teacup. So I just wanted to mention those. And they also came with a little stamp set too. So especially like You're My Cup of Tea would go really nicely with this cup on this set. That's why I thought I'd just quickly mention that. I'm sorry if they're not available anymore, but I'm sure a lot of you will already have them, and I do think this set would go really nicely with them if you've been enjoying them. This one would be a nice add-on to make them go a bit further as well. So let's have a look at the stamp set first. So the stamp set is mostly just sentiments, but you do have this gorgeous splatter kind of design, which can be like a splatter of tea, a splatter of coffee, just in multiple colours, just to create a cool background for your cup or mug to sit on. You've also got a couple of coffee beans as well, which again, always useful just to fill up a little bit of white space, to ground an image and add like something scattered across the bottom of the card. Just really lovely little coffee bean designs. You do also get coffee bean dies as well, and I think the outsides of them actually will cut out these stamped images too. Yes, they will. So in a second I will show you all the ones that coordinate with this stamp set too. That is all of the extra stamps that are in there, and the rest are all sentiments. So the first one says, "You make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside, but first coffee, I couldn't live without you, you so much." So there is one that says I miss and I love, so then you can have you, I just read that as you so much, it says you so mocha, more than coffee and coffee in brackets, I miss and then you, how have you been, better latte than never, you make every day better, fancy a cuppa, brew, you a latte and then I love, a cup of coffee makes everything better, and this actually fits inside the coffee cup as well. And then you also have treat yourself, go on, or go on, treat yourself, whichever order you decide to read it in. So some nice little coffee, mostly coffee themed sentiments. There is brew that would go with the tea and fancy a cuppa, but the rest of them are mostly coffee or the mocha kind of sentiments. Some of them don't mention either, so you could use them with either. So yeah, nice selection of sentiments that will work with these dies. Then actually I'll keep that on there. And then there are dies that coordinate with the stamps as well. So for example, this one here, you can actually cut out using this die and use it as the little sleeve that you put around a takeaway cup to stop your hand getting too hot. So you can actually put the treat yourself on there. Then this one you can use to cut out that entire sentiment and layer it onto your coffee cup as well, or alternatively you could just stamp that straight onto the larger coffee cup, because this is the matte layer that goes onto it, so you could do that also. Then you also have this die, which goes with the sentiment on here, but you could also use it to cut out the But First coffee or the fancy a cuppa as well. That fits on both of those. Then, like I was just saying, the coffee beans actually coordinate with the coffee beans on here as well. Probably should have been zoomed in closer, but hopefully you can kind of see what I mean. And then I think that's all of the ones that properly coordinate, but I think quite a few of the sentiments would fit on different areas. Like you could actually stamp the sentiment onto the mug here. You could use some of the smaller sentiments and put them onto these two sections of the takeaway cup as well. So I think, they coordinate quite nicely, and they've thought about giving you a few extra dies to cut things out, which is always lovely. So that is the stamp set and the dies that coordinate. Then past me will show you some cards later on showing you the different ways of how to create this, because you can do the cup, which could be a teacup or a latte or something, or a flat white, and then you have the oval piece, so you can give the perspective of the drink in the mug as well, and you also have the latte art as well, so you can cut that and add your pattern to the top of a latte drink, which is really nice. One of the cards, I can't remember, I filmed the other bit a while ago, so I can't remember if I said, but I actually made it look like a cup of tea, but I wanted the fluid level to be lower than like the edge of the cup, so I actually cut the oval again and pulled it down on the inside to give you that level of the drink. So if I didn't mention that, you should be able to see that in the card later on. So that is like the options for this one, but you also do have a pattern that you can cut into the cup as well if you want it to look a little bit more like a fancy teacup, or even like white on white for a decorative embossed kind of style latte cup as well. Then you have this cup design, which is really nice actually, because they've made it really versatile. So you can cut this piece, and then you can cut this piece and stick it on top to turn it into a to-go mug, and then you also have like the piece that, you know, would be the little cardboard sleeve that you can hold. You've also got that die to use on it, but they've also made it so that you can take this piece to give you the open top of the mug then, and you also have the handle, so you can actually make it into a mug, so it could be a large mug of coffee, or you could turn this into a hot chocolate and you have the piece of cream to go on top, so it can be a really luxury hot chocolate. You can even put little marshmallows onto the hot chocolate as well, so you've got the perfect card for anybody who is a hot chocolate lover too. And then you could even have this as a latte as well, because if you go to a coffee shop and you ask for a large latte, they often give it to you in a tall glass with a handle on, so you could turn this into a latte as well. The latte art probably wouldn't work because of the perspective of the top, but you could definitely make this look more like a clear glass and colour a latte inside there as well for a different option. So there really are loads of different ways of using both of the like the mug, the to-go cup and the cup in here as well, which is really nice, because oftentimes you're just stuck with one thing, or you have to use your imagination or cut bits with your scissors to turn it into something else, and they've really thought about this and done everything for you, which is really nice. So to go with the whipped cream that you can put on the top of your hot chocolate or a coffee, I think some coffees do have the whipped cream on top of them. You've got the detail to go on the inside, but look at that. Doesn't that also look like ice cream or butter icing on the top of a cupcake? So you can actually cut your own bottom portion and turn it into a cupcake or an ice cream. I'll show you that on one of my cards that I'll show you before past me shows you the other cards. But you could also use the bottom portion of this layer to make the bottom of a cupcake as well. So you kind of have the die to already do that, or even that little piece, you could probably just use that piece to make the bottom of your cupcake as well, depending on what kind of curvature you want. Or even this little one, that would actually work perfectly as the bottom of a cupcake with a lot of icing on the top of it. So you've even got that little die to turn it into a cupcake, which is really nice. Or you can just cut a triangle of cardstock to turn it into an ice cream cone. Or in the UK, we do also have ice cream cones that have a flat bottom, so you could use a portion of this longer piece to turn it into one of those looking ice creams as well. So lots of options with just the whipped cream too. To go along with any of like the tea or coffee that you might have created, you've also got this little one, which is a sugar cube, but it could also be an ice cube as well. So you've got options for turning that into a sugar cube or an ice cube. Then you also have this little leaf as well, which is like a little mint leaf. So you can do a mint tea, like a mint green tea for somebody, or you could have it I suppose with the hot chocolate as well. You could do like a minty hot chocolate. You could even turn the hot chocolate into more of a Christmassy feel. And if you had the Penguin Stamp and Die and Blister shaker set that had a large candy cane in it, you could have the candy cane coming out the top of the hot chocolate as well to turn it into a bit more of a Christmassy drink too. You also have, I probably shouldn't take all the dies off of here because I won't be able to get them back on, but you also have the 2 coffee beans, which have the separate outside die that can cut out the stamp, and they also have that little interior piece to cut it out to make it look like a coffee bean. You have a lovely spoon. I really like that spoon, and because you have this little sugar cube as well, I've actually just made a card that's like a get well soon card that says a spoonful of sugar. So if you're a Mary Poppins fan, you'll probably get the reference. But yeah, I thought that was really cute that you could also put the sugar cubes on the spoon, whether it's for a punny card like that, or whether it's for, you know, someone who really loves a lot of sugar in their tea or coffee. You could pile up a load of them on there to make it more specific to them, how they like to drink their drinks. Then, this is one of my favourite dies, and the swirls that go with it, because when I was making the cards to go on the packaging of these little shakers ages and ages and ages ago, I went back through my Tonic collection of dies to try and find something swirly to look like the steam coming off of the drinks. But now, in this set, we actually have it, and we have multiple different ways of using it. So, you've got the outside edge, and then you've got this interior piece that does the dotted detail that gives you the gorgeous swirls of steam, and this looks fantastic cut from vellum, but you could also just use the swirls of steam and cut them straight into the card as well, depending what kind of look you're going for. But the best thing is we also have 3 swirls that coordinate perfectly, so you can die cut these and place them in the perfect position over the top of those swirls. Or on the cards that past me will show you later, I actually liked having it offset so that you could see the dotted swirls cut into vellum underneath, and then these swirls cut into white on the top as like the steam of the drink. So you can have any combination of just these swirls coming out, and you can, if you just use the swirls, you can put them in any configuration that you like. You can also use these to create little heart kind of elements coming out of the top of your coffee or tea. So for this one you could do I love you a latte, and then have the steam making a heart shape out of the top, and even the 2 smaller ones also make a heart shape too, because they've thought about it and given you 2 that go one way and 1 that goes the other way, which is fantastic as well. But obviously you could also bring in this main die and have that cut in vellum above it, with that gorgeous stitch detail in it, and then putting the swirls on top of that, or offset and coming off the top of it as well. And you can do that for the cup, you can do it for the mug, especially if you were going to do turn this into a glass latte glass. You could then have the gorgeous swirls of steam coming out the top of it and put this more on like a DL card to go with the sort of length that you're creating of this coffee cup as well. So I really love that they've given us this gorgeous steam section. I think that's going to be really useful, even for other stamps and dies for coffee themed things that you might have as well, just this gorgeous element. Or for what about like the chimney of a house? If you have a house die set, you could have the smoke coming out of the chimney and all those kind of things too, or using them within like cloud designs, those clouds that were in the Stamp Club one, the Shoot for the Stars, I think it was. You could have these swirls incorporated within the clouds to make it look like it's a windy day and the clouds are moving along. So yeah, I really think this is a lovely little set. I mean, yeah, I think I'm going to use this one a lot, these gorgeous little swirl designs. So there's that, and then we also have this one. So you saw me show that outside die coordinating with some of the stamps. This one actually says Cool Beans in there. I'm not sure who actually says that anymore, but it says Cool Beans, and it's got 2 little coffee beans on there, and it creates like one of those little seal kind of looking things, you know, when you do the hot wax. Or it can just be like a little plaque, or almost like the top of a rosette or something to add on to the mug as well. Then you have this one that says You Warm My Heart, and it has lovely little heart designs in there as well. Some of them just like emboss into the detail, and then you have this gorgeous swirly heart, which is sort of mimicking those swirls of the steam as well. And then we also have the extra pieces that will layer up onto the to-go cup or onto the longer, larger mug if you want to create that as well. So we've got this gorgeous little design here, which is just kind of a geometric sort of design. This one says Seize the Day, and then we also have another sort of geometric design to go along with the top one as well, so that you can build up the pattern. You could even probably get away with cutting a few of this larger one and placing them all the way down the cup, and then snipping off the excess that hangs over the edges as well for another different look too. So I'll put all these dies back on here, and then I'll be back in a second to show you the extra 3 samples that I've done. So here are 3 extra samples, and then past me will show you some as well. So this one, really, really simple, but I really love the simplicity of it. Just using the swirls from the steam and some of the hearts that fall out of the latte art as well. And then going along with that punny kind of get well soon sort of a card, making a little spoonful of sugar with the spoon and then 3 of the sugar cubes. And I think the Sugar Crystal glitter card from Tonic is perfect for cutting out the sugar cubes, because it just makes them look exactly like a sugar cube with that gorgeous sort of granulated look of a sugar cube. And then I've used the satin silver mirror card for the spoon as well, and then I've just used my Dymo label to do a spoonful of sugar. So I thought that was a really punny, cool kind of get well soon card, especially for a Disney fan as well. So I thought that was really cool and really simple and quick to do as well. Then, obviously, I couldn't pass up turning this into an ice cream. I could have also done the idea with the cupcakes as well, but I decided to go for the ice cream because I thought it was, you know, nice to show the kind of shape that I would cut a cone into in case you want to turn it into an ice cream and you're not sure what kind of shape to cut it into. It's basically just like a tall, skinny Christmas tree kind of shape, but with a curved top to it. You could have it as a pointy one as well, but usually cones kind of have a little bit of a curve to the bottom of them. And then all I did to get the texture on it was take one of the ball tools from Tonic, this little one here, and then just literally draw the cross hatches into it, and then I just emphasised it a bit with the colouring using the Nouveau alcohol pens as well. And then I've done the whipped cream and stuck them on top of each other and coloured them with browns to turn it into chocolate ice cream. And then I've used You Make Every Day Better, so there are a few sentiments in there that you can use with these kind of alternative uses for the dies. So if you'd done the cupcakes as well, you could also use this kind of a sentiment on that too. Then for the background on this one, I remembered the sweet sorbet colour trend, and I remember thinking that went perfectly with ice creams, so I just cut a few strips from the little 6x6 paper pad to create the background on this one, and then I finished it off with some Nouveau Vintage Drops. I think that's called chocolate chip actually, that colour, and it works perfectly for like a chocolate chip sort of feel to the chocolate ice cream as well. So that is another quick and simple kind of card. And then finally I did one more latte one as well, and I did Love You a Latte, and thinking about it now after I just showed you that, I think this would also look perfect with the heart of steam coming out of that latte as well, to go with the I love you a latte sort of a sentiment. So that would be a lovely addition to a card like this too. and I was just using up a background that I'd previously made a while ago, but this is one of Tonic's handmade cotton papers. I can't remember the name of it, but it's got like a gorgeous fern sort of pattern all over it, and it's a dark green kind of colour. And all I did was I think I used a bit of sparkle spray and then just some coloured ink sprays, but you could also use your Aquaflows as well. And then you literally just cover the paper in the colour and press your cardstock onto it and like pull a print off of it, and it works really, really nicely. So that's what I used in that background piece. Then for the latte, I cut all of this out of white, and I used the lightest cool grey marker from Tonic, which is number 485, along with the blender, to add some depth and shadow to the white mug. And then I used a couple of the brown tones, and then I also brought in, for the white latte art, I brought in some stone drops, just to add like a little bit of texture onto it. I can't remember if I did that on my previous cards that I'll show you in a second, but yeah, I thought the stone drops would be like the perfect frothy milk kind of texture, so I just added a little bit of that on as well. And then I just snipped the sentiment into pieces. I Love is separate, and then You a Latte is the same stamp, but UA is on top of Latte, but I kind of wanted it to go in a line, so I just cut them into separate little pieces and mounted them onto black card as well, and then trimmed around them. So another really quick and simple card. So I will insert the clip from past me now, showing you lots of other samples that I created that hopefully will be on the packaging of this showcase set. So when you get your packaged versions, hopefully the next cards you'll see will actually be featured on there as well, which is really cool. So I'll pass you back to past me. So I've got 6 different samples to show you using the stamp and die set. Some of them I've just focused on the stamps, some of them are just the die, some is a combination of the two. But firstly, I thought they make the perfect little like gift tag, especially for a coffee lover. I mean, if you've got them like a mug or something, you could wrap up the mug and then use the little takeaway coffee as the little tag. And you could also create a tag turning it into a hot chocolate with the whipped cream and the handle on the side of it as well, which I have made one of those on a card that I'll show you in a second as well. But I just thought they make the perfect little tags, and you can just have a little bit of thread on them. And I've done it as an actual like opening tag as well. You could just do it as a single front piece, and I did actually do this one double-sided, so I did the same on both sides, and I just put a white piece on the inside just so it's easier for you to write in there. And I've also combined the stamps and dies together and used the Treat Yourself Go On stamp on the little sleeve that goes around a takeaway cup, which I thought was quite a nice idea. You could also just use the panel that comes in the die set as well if you'd rather, but I thought showing how that stamp goes absolutely perfectly with that die, I thought that would be a good thing to show. Then the only thing you have to think about when making a little tag like this, I hung the die off a fold of the card so that I got an actual folded sort of card blank kind of thing, but the lid actually overhangs that fold, so on the back one you've got to just snip off that tiny bit there. You can see the bit that I've snipped off, and that just makes it open flat really nicely, and it's not too noticeable from the back because you can see the portion from the front, so that just helps it open much nicer. So that is the sort of kind of looking like a Starbucks Christmas cup with the white lid. And then I've done this one, which kind of matches one of the other cards that I've done, although the card's a tea themed card and this is coffee themed, but I love the sentiment, a cup of coffee makes everything better. And so this one I've cut out of turquoise card, and then the front panel is actually a piece of their cotton handmade paper that I coloured the back of it with some turquoise and green kind of colours, so you can see that poking through because that's what I'd used on the card that I'll show you later on as well. And again, I've done the same thing where I've snipped off that tiny bit of the back here just so that it opens up nice and smoothly, but this one I kept much simpler. I've doubled up the lid of the coffee so it looks nice on both sides, but I didn't do anything on the back of this one, whereas this one I replicated the design on the back. I just thought leaving this one plain would be nice. I was also experimenting with ombreing the inking of the stamp as well, which does also look really nice, but in the end I decided just the turquoise would go better, but I don't know, it would look quite nice. I could even put that one on the back maybe. But yeah, you can sort of ombre the colour of it as well, because it's quite a nice big quote. You can actually use, that was just 2 colours of ink, but you could probably get away with 3 colours, especially if you're using the little Nuvo hybrid cubes, because you can actually place it in different areas of the stamp. So that's just like a quick idea, turning them into little gift tags, which I thought would be a nice fun way of using this set. Then I did this one, which is just focusing on the stamps, and you can see that sentiment again. The sentiment is designed to go perfectly in this sort of tapering shape that is the shape of the cup, but there's nothing to stop you cutting it into a rectangle, so I just used my guillotine to cut that into a rectangle, stuck it on some golden mosaic card and then trimmed around it again, and then you've got the perfect little sentiment to mat onto your card. And then for the background, I've used all the gorgeous elements from the stamp set. So you've got that lovely splatter, you've got the little coffee beans in 2 different sizes, and then I've also used the how have you been little stamp in the background, because I thought that was, it's really punny to put that with the little coffee bean stamps as well. So that is a really simple kind of card that you could obviously, I did it in a coffee colour because, you know, it's a coffee themed card, but you know, if someone loves the colour pink or purple or blue, you could easily do it in those colours as well. And it's just a little bit of ink blending down the centre using one of the Nuvo large blending ink brushes. And I used walnut stain and ground espresso distress inks to do the ink blending. And then for the stamping, I used a little bit of each of those, but I also used the Acorn Brown Nuvo hybrid ink pad. I think this one does, I think you can only buy it in the large ink pad. I just had a small one that had come in a kit, but yeah, that I'll link that below as well if you're interested in a brown hybrid ink pad, because it gives a really lovely brown. It's a very warm kind of brown, and it's not too dark. Some brown inks are so dark it basically just looks like you used a black ink rather than a brown ink, but I really like this Acorn Brown. It's a lovely colour and goes perfectly for coffee as well. Definitely worth getting if you love making coffee themed cards, or you like neutral tones as well. So that is that one. And then these 3 are my sped up video. I'm filming this ahead of time, so there might be 2 sped up videos by the time you know, these come out, but for now, this is the sped up video. You will have heard me talk about it earlier on if I have done another one, but these are the ones that I have done for now. And I just wanted to show in one video the versatility of this die set. You can have a cup of tea. There is a little sentiment that says fancy a cuppa, and then you also have the word brew as well. I also did it as a latte and then also as a hot chocolate, because you get this extra handle, which is really clever that they've given you that, because this is the actual die that makes the takeaway cup that I made the tag out of, but they've also given you the extra handle so you can turn it into a tall mug. I mean, you could have done this and turned this into a latte as well, because often when you go out and you have a latte, you usually get it in a glass like this, especially if you get a large one. I mean, smaller ones do usually come like this, but that could also be a flat white as well if someone really loves flat whites, and then you could just like not use the latte sentiments. But I really love the latte sentiments because you get really punny ones. So this one says better latte than never, and there's also, I think there's another latte one as well. I've probably already told you this. Oh yeah, love you a latte. That's the usual one that you see on stamp sets. So let's walk you through these. This one is really simple. This is just dies. So this is just the dies. A little bit of ink blending down the back of it. I used a mixture of tumbled glass distress oxide and broken china distress ink for the blending on these ones. Again, with one of these fantastic large Nuvo ink blending brushes. And then I've just used some different colours of cardstock in here, and also different types of card. So the cream, the detail of the cream is actually a luxury embossed cardstock. It's actually a piece from one of the 6x6 pads. I think you can get it in full-size sheets as well, but having those 6x6 pads is fantastic because you get such a selection at like a fraction of the price. It's basically, I think a pad is basically the price of like buying one packet of the luxury embossed cardstock, but you're getting multiple different types to try out, which is really lovely. And when you're just die cutting bits and pieces, you don't need full A4 sheets. A 6x6 is perfectly good enough, you know, to cut out multiple bits and pieces. And then I have layered some of their sugar crystal glitter card behind it to give it an extra special kind of look. I also used that textured card to cut out the marshmallows, which I think looks really good for the marshmallows. And then behind the sentiment, I actually used some, what's it called, orange blush Nouveau Embellishment mousse, because I felt like I had glitter up here and pearlescent. I needed to add something else to the orange card that I'd used, and that just worked absolutely perfectly. And then the hearts that I've used here are from the Latte design, so you actually get a little heart that pops out. There's actually a tiny little heart as well, which I've used up here, that pops out of that Latte design. And then to finish this one off, I also paper pieced the heart from the sentiment back in, and then I just used a few silver crystals glitter drops. This is one of my favourites at the moment. You can see I've only got like a third of the bottle left, but it goes so well for so many different things. And I know like there's hundreds of colours of Nouveau drops, but sometimes you don't want your Nouveau drops to be like too evident. You just want them, you want it to be like something subtle that when someone's looking at it they see it. And these kind of clear ones with the glitter in are perfect. There's also white blizzard as well, but the silver crystals one doesn't have that interference colour, so it literally just looks like gorgeous glitter within a clear dome, which is really lovely and goes with everything. So that is the hot chocolate card. Then I've done the latte card, and in the background on this one I also stamped the Better Latte Than Never in the, what colour is it, mint macaroon ink. I know it doesn't quite go with the blue tone of the distress inks that I've used, but I still think it goes quite nicely. And then I've also stenciled the heart in the background. So I had been cutting out extra of that top latte design to use the hearts on this card, and so I had this left over, so I used this as a stencil to get little hearts in the background as well, which I thought was quite a fun idea of an extra way of using the die. Then I really love this latte design. I mean, I have only used it on one of the cards because I was trying to show lots of different things, but I absolutely love this. And I cut the oval that goes behind the latte colour, behind the brown colour. I cut it from that luxury embossed cardstock. I think it's called Pearl Damask, possibly. And you'll see in the sped up video, I actually took a ball tool, and from the back I pressed through the detail of the die, so it's slightly puffed up a little bit. I don't know if you can really tell, but it just adds something a little bit extra. And I mean, you could do the actual die cut from white and put the brown behind, but I think with traditional lattes, it is the coffee is in the mug first, and then they make the pattern with the milk, so the pattern would be white. But you don't have to use such a dark colour of brown. I think, well, the kind of lattes that I drink would probably be more of a craft colour, but I just thought that dark brown would be a nice contrast between the white mug that I decided to do, so that's why I went with that, and it shows off that design really nicely for you as well. I was also thinking you could add some Nouveau mousse over the top of this dark brown, and it would tone it down a little bit, and maybe even give that kind of like microfoam sort of look to the crema on the coffee as well. So you can definitely experiment with different ways to do that. Or obviously your aquaflows as well. On the next card I actually used an aquaflow to get the tea colour, so you could definitely use your aquaflows to colour that piece as well to get the perfect sort of coffee kind of colour. Because I mean, you could be giving it to someone who you know, like it's a funny fact about them that they love really strong coffee, or that they like really weak coffee that's basically milk, and so you could sort of play on that kind of fact and you know, colour it to be specific to the person as well. I absolutely adore the steam swirls on this. There's been other coffee kind of stamp sets, or tea stamps, or die sets, sorry, the shaker ones that came out a little while ago, and I actually did the packaging samples for those as well. And I went through my stash looking for something that would look like the gorgeous steam coming off the drink, but I'm so glad that they've actually put it in this die set, because it is beautiful. And the way they've done it, I've probably explained this already, but they've done it so that you can cut the like stitched version into the main piece, and then the stitch version gives you a place for where you can actually line up the die cuts. But I really like the offset look, because then it kind of looks like this is the steam that's sort of dissipating and this is like the fresh bits coming up. I just really love that look of it being offset, and those swirls are just absolutely beautiful. They could be vines coming out of flowers, they could be waves on the sea, all sorts of different uses for them as well. So I really, really like those swirls, and cutting them out of funky foam and turning them into stamps for building up your backgrounds as well would be brilliant. But I really like that. And then for the cup, I did the die cut detail into it, and I also used those silver crystals to go over the flowers on there as well, and I also put some dots in the steam. And I did do a little bit of shading behind the detail just so that it would stand out, because I did it white on white. And then I've also done the little coffee beans at the bottom, which I coloured the detail layer with iced Americano glitter marker, which is very appropriate. And then I've cut the spoon from silver mirror card, and you'll see in the video I did actually use a ball tool on the end of the spoon to try and make it look a little bit concave as well, and then I've put the beans inside that. So that's the latte card, and then the final one is a tea themed card. I know with a normal cup of tea you might not have the little mint leaves, but you had that in the die set, so I thought I'd just throw it in, and it goes with the colour of the cup that I chose. But the great thing is you can turn this into any kind of tea. It can be like English breakfast tea, it could be Earl Grey, it could be mint tea, it could be fruit tea. You can really do anything that you want. And with the latte one, you obviously get the oval that fits perfectly back into the mug, and with a latte it is basically filled right to the top to get this gorgeous design in it. But with a cup of tea you usually see a little bit of the back of the mug, like you don't always fill a cup of tea right to the top because you're likely to spill it as you walk away with it. So to do this kind of effect I have used a white oval, actually one of the spare ones out of here, and coloured it with the, I'll tell you the name because you might like the colour of it, Cinnamon Stick Nouveau Aquaflow. I can't 100% remember which set this came out in. I'll put it up here if I can remember. And then so I coloured that one with that Aquaflow, and then I had the one that had fallen out of this. You could just cut it solid actually and not bother you know, replacing it back in, but because I was cutting lots at the same time I ended up cutting the oval into the turquoise one, and so what I did was I replaced the turquoise one back in, but then I also stuck this one I'd coloured on top but moved it down about 5mm, and it just gives you still got that like ellipsis of the tea in the mug, and it works perfectly because it's the same curvature, but it just gives that look of the perspective basically of like then it not being full. You could even use your Aquaflow to like deepen this part of it as well to give it even more sort of depth too, but it's just an extra idea. If you didn't want the cup to look like it was completely full of drink, you can just shift that oval down a little bit. And then also for this one it's the same paper that I used on this little coffee cup, and I'd cut it out with the oval inside it, and I snipped off the handle portion and the bottom and then laid it onto the turquoise one, so it looks like it's a pretty patterned cup with a solid coloured handle and and foot, and then inside of the cup as well. So I thought that was a nice little touch. I've then done the steam swirls again, but this time I used the sugar crystals to cut them out, because I've also used the sugar crystals to cut out the sugar cubes, which works absolutely perfectly, and it really does look like little sugar cubes down there. And again I've put the spoon on there, and I tried to make the bowl of the spoon be a little bit concave as well using a ball tool, and then I've just laid up a few more of the sugar cubes there. And I also did use a tiny ball tool to add that three-dimensional detail back into the sugar cube, just drawing on like the square portion and then the line going backwards. You'll see that in the video as well. And yeah, the background of this one, again, was the same colours of ink blending. I used the little word brew, I used the splatter stamp, and I also used the circular stamp that says fancy a cuppa. And then for the sentiment on the actual card, you'll see in the video I was umming and ahhing whether to put the circular sentiment. In my original idea I had the circular sentiment up here, then I was trying it over here, but then I thought, well, why not just cut the fancy a cuppa out of the circle? So it's actually the same words that are in the circle, but I just cut it into a little rectangle, and I think that works really well as well. The samples that I have done, and I will pass you back on to future me the rest of the video for you. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this up-close video looking at Tonic Showcase number 13, and it is, I think it's called the Coffee Collection Showcase. But I just love that you can do so much with it, and those previous cards that I've just past me's just shown you, with like turning it into the to-go mug, you can make it into a gift tag, you can do it into the hot chocolate, you can do the cupcake like I was saying earlier, the ice cream, punny little get well soon cards, all sorts of different things you can do with this set. I think it's a really nice one, especially I mean, maybe you yourself don't like hot drinks or tea and coffee in particular, but I'm sure you know people who do love their coffee and or a cup of tea, and it's always lovely to be able to make cards specific for other people as well with something that they love on it. So I think everybody would find a use for this kind of stamp and die set. And again, if you have any of these shakers that they previously released, I do think that this set would work perfectly with any of these. So if you do have them, it would be a great set to go with them. If I can find those anywhere, I will link them below the video as well. And this will also be linked below the video too. And I'll probably link the storage folders as well, because this is coming in more of like an A5 format. You might want a storage folder to keep all of your dies and stamps together, and all of the links that will be in the description below the video and also on my blog are affiliate links as well, so I really do appreciate you using them. It really makes a massive difference. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you again in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!